Hello and welcome back to stephentozarealestate.com.au. Today we're talking about when we're selling a home, what happens when I get an offer. Now what I'm about to tell you only applies to Queensland. Every state has their own little rules and different ways of doing things, but this is what the current scenario is in Queensland. When you get an offer, this is when you really truly see what your real estate is like. You're going to see what his negotiation skills for, and that you're going to see whether he is really working for you, because ultimately you're the one who's paying for him. So his number one aim should be to get the best result for you. Now firstly, an offer is only an offer if it's received in writing. Now that should be either on a written contract or at worst an expression of interest. Something that's got a signature and some sort of commitment from the buyer. Now if it's only a verbal means nothing. I offer you this, and it's easy for that person to change and walk away and not return phone calls or not go through with it. But at least if you've got it in writing, if push comes to shove, you've got something there to verify it. But at the end of the day, the contract is the best version for it to be official. Now, what happens if you get more than one offer? That's where we have what we call a multiple offer situation. It doesn't matter whether it's whether it's two offers, three offers, or more. The buyer has one shot and one shot only. In Queensland, you are not allowed to have, inverted commas, a Dutch auction situation. So they are only allowed to submit one price, and what it should be is their first offer, last offer, best offer. And then should look at conditions as well as the price, particularly as a seller, because you may have some particular objectives. So conditions can play a little bit of a play. So you might not always take the highest price, but their conditions may suit you better. For instance, they may waive a cooling off period, they may waive their finance clause, pest and building clause, or a shortened clause or a longer clause, whatever may suit you. At the end of the day, you're the seller. You're the one to say yes or no to what is being done. Once the contract has been agreed, the contract must be in full names. That means first name, middle name, last name. Now, the last name is very important, particularly if you're buying as a couple, a husband and wife, and you've bought the property initially in the wife's maiden name. The contract must be still in that original maiden name. So that is the original owner, and that's the way it should be done. The contracts in Queensland are also written up by the real estate agent. In other states they're generally done by solicitors. Now, the conditions. Standard conditions are here. You have a 5-day cooling off period where the buyers do not need a reason to change their mind, but they are charged a fee of 0.25% of the selling price if they withdraw from the contract without a reason. That does not mean that if they withdraw because of pest and building issues or finance issues, they are charged that fee. That is separate conditions again. The standard finance conditions are generally 14 days. Outside of that, you should find out why they need longer than 14 days. Sometimes the banks may take a little bit longer, but it'd be good to speak to a good broker to find out where the banks are. What might be good 14 days or even 7 days now might be 21 or 28 days in another period. The banks go up and down all the time. But find out why it's going to be longer than 14 days. And if you accept 14 days and they go longer, it is up to you to decide whether you want to extend their finance clause or not. Same with pest and building. Standard should be 7 days. Some people say it should be longer than 14 days, but the thing is, if they've got some issues with your home, you want to get it back on the market as quick as possible. You don't want to wait 14 days because they don't like that you've got some sort of little issue which might be only worth a few $100s, but it's a major big deal to the buyer. So if it's only off the market 7 days, you're not really lost too much of a weight of momentum, you can get it back on the market. Deposits. Deposits should be a good deposit. Some people think it's $1,000, but you need a good deposit. It cannot be any larger than 10%. So it's a good idea to see if you can get up, around that 5% mark, depending on what the value of the home is. You want to sort of show that the buyer is very fair dinkum about buying your property, and he's willing to put his money there, and he's going to go through with the transaction. Settlement in Queensland is normally 30 days from the date of contract, as was with the other ones, with the 7 days for pested building and 14 days with finance. That is from the date of the contract. And the date of the contract is when the offer has been accepted by you, the seller. Also, what goes on the contract is any other special conditions, whether that might be a subject to sale, 60 days from the date of the contract. Something must occur for the contract to fulfill, whatever that special condition must be. And it's probably not such a bad idea if you've got something that's a little bit unusual with a special condition, that you might refer to a solicitor for the correct wording to make sure that that is sound and secure. Other things that need to go on the contract are your tenants' details, whether the tenants are going to be there if your property is an investment property, whether the tenants are going to be there ongoing after the settlement date, or whether the property is going to be vacant possession. That is very important because it could get you in a little bit of strife should that not be clearly pointed out to the buyer, particularly if the tenants have another 3 or 4 months left to go on their tenancy, for example, and you're selling it as vacant possession. It can cause a lot of complication. It maybe cost you your sale. Other things that included on the contract is a pool certificate. If you have a pool in Queensland, you must get a pool certificate prior to settlement or prior to putting the property on the market. And if it is not available prior to putting it on the market, there's the appropriate forms that you speak to your real estate agent about. If not, that can be passed on to the buyer, but again, it's probably best to refer to your real estate agent about those details there. Probably a little bit lengthy to go through at this point here at the moment. Things like safety switches and neighbourhood disputes, if any of those, if the safety switches are not in place, and smoke alarms and neighbourhood disputes are currently in dispute before QCAT, you must tick the appropriate box whether it is or it isn't within the house. Other things like included chattels, like including your dishwasher, you might include your garden shed, pool equipment, or excluded fixtures. You might want to take out the air conditioner or something like that. You must itemise these things down. Nothing is in concrete until it's written down, and nothing should be assumed, just the same with any other contract. Any other title encumbrances should be also noted down as well and identified to the buyer. So outside of that, the contract will just follow the standard terms written up by the Law Society of Queensland and the REIQ, and you just go through to settlement. Generally, there's a settlement inspection done a day or two prior to settlement, and pending that everything is okay with that, everything should settle on time on the 30th day. I hope you found that video informative. My name is Stephen Tozer, Centenary's most trusted opinion. I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.